to On Target, your go-to podcast to lead, love, and live as Central Region unapologetically serves all mankind. Here's your host, Dyana W. Davis, Central Regional Director for Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Well, welcome back to all of you. I know we have been on a little hiatus, but I am so excited to be back with you with the On Target podcast. This is our 11th episode. And of course, I am Dyana W. Davis, your host and Central Regional Director of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And you know, for those who are members of our organization and who are adjacent to our organization, whether you're a friend, whether you're a fan, you know, in June, we celebrate everything Black. I mean, it is especially exciting to celebrate Juneteenth. And of course, one of our initiative in Alpha Kappa Alpha is really economic empowerment. We want to make sure that we wear pink, spin green, and buy Black. And so, you know, as Alpha Kappa Alpha women, we want to make sure we do that and document that. But today we have a very special guest. Actually, I feel so flattered and almost like girl crushing over here about the person that we have joining us today. She is a trailblazer in the music industry. You know, what does this lowly accountant have anything to do with the music industry? And I'm just excited to be able to bring her on. She is a celebrated radio personality, a dedicated media strategist, and a tireless advocate. And you guys know I'm all about advocacy for Black people in the African American music and culture. She is known as the mother of Black Music Month. She has been instrumental in promoting and celebrating Black music for over 4 decades. And I'm telling you, when you see her, she doesn't look a bit over 20. She is a trailblazer in the music industry, and she has been recognized for her contribution and the respect that the Black music industry deserve. You all, please join me in welcoming the legendary Dyana Williams to the On Target podcast, because today we are going to delve into the inception and impact of Black Music Month, which is celebrated in the month of June, and explore her groundbreaking career. Welcome, Dyana Williams, to the On Target podcast.
It is my honor to be with you today, Kiana. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction.
Well, I'm telling you, I've read your bio. I actually saw a couple clips of you doing different interviews, and Karen Vaughn, a mutual friend that we both have, she didn't tell me I was going to be on the podcast with a superstar, and so I am just so elated to have you. And it is so appropriate as we, as members of Alpha Kappa Alpha, go into the month of June, really celebrating all things Black. And who knew that there was a month called Black Music Month, and that I would get to share the airways with the one who created that. So tell us about the inception of Black Music Month and what motivated you, Kenny Gamble, and Ed Wright to create it.
Well, you just mentioned my two other co-founders, Kenny Gamble. It was his initial idea. He is my ex. We had 3 beautiful children. And just last week, I said to him, you know, Gamble, I would say that Black Music Month is our 4th child. 45 years now, we've been celebrating Black Music Month. We're the parents, for sure. And in June 7th, 1979, at the encouragement of the Black Music Association, Jimmy Carter, President Carter, announced that June was Black Music Month under the auspices of the BMA.
How many of you know what month this is? Somebody said June. Right on. This is Black Music Month.
So this is national. So I have never heard of this month, but I'm so glad that it really exists, because I think as a Black woman, just growing up in the ecosystem of Black music, really it's more than the artist, correct? The whole idea of Black music.
Okay, so the focus of June Black Music Month and every single day of the year is to celebrate and recognize Those who produce, create the music, that's the videographers, the photographers, the stylists, the makeup artists, the engineers, the executives, the radio and TV personalities, the print journalists, all of these people in allied professions that perpetuate and preserve the culture. And the most important as well is the consumer. So it is a celebration of American music made in the United States, created by Black folks, and celebrated by billions of human beings all over planet Earth. And it's one of our greatest exports to the tune of multi-billions of dollars, not millions, but billions.
Brilliant.
And when you look at what's the number one genre in the world right now, it remains and has been for a while hip hop music, Black
Hip.
music from the United States of America.
Oh my. So, of course, as a person who grew up with hip hop, for all of those who don't know, I'll be reaching 50 years old. So I was born as hip hop was being born. So I am a product of the hip hop genre, and the impact it has had on me, the United States, and the world. But I love what you said about Black music being more than just the artist. It is the accountant, right? It is those things in that ecosystem that supports this very type of music that the world gets to benefit from. The type of music that creates healing, the type of music that creates celebration. So I'm really intrigued, especially as it aligns with Alpha Kappa Alpha and our focus on economics and Black economics. Just to hear that this particular month and the celebration of it really is about everything that touches Black music. So, members out there and those who are adjacent and fans, please know that in the celebration of Black Music Month, it is more than just the artist. So, we get to really plug into not only the artists and the songs, but those that support Black music, like the makeup artist and the videographer, the photographers.
And wait a minute, girl. The accountants, are you kidding when you said, no, girl, you are part of Black Music Month. If you have clients that do anything regarding music, Black people doing music, you are equally important because it's how folks get paid.
Absolutely.
So that work in the music industry, we celebrate them as well. This is the 45th anniversary. And again, it is a celebration of American music created here. And I'm talking about all genres, gospel, rock. A lot of people would have you think that the Rolling Stones, a British group, created gospel. Eric Clapton, all due respect to them, because there's some of their songs that I do like. However, but it is Black music, rock music was created by Little Richard, Sister Rosetta Tharpe, who I call the queen of gospel rock, because she electrified the guitar. And when I listen to her, I hear rock. So Sister Rosetta Tharpe, Bo Diddley, Chuck Berry, Little Richard, these are the parents, the forefathers and foremothers of rock music. But then there's gospel music that came from spirituals. I mean, music is at the very core. It is in the DNA of all human beings, I believe, because I believe it's a universal language. But when you think about the body of work that Black folks have created, it is the soundtrack to human lives. And not discounting other forms of music, other groups of people, but I'm an advocate for Black music and culture.
I love it. I love it. I am also an advocate of all things Black, definitely, and making sure that we preserve and celebrate and we support. But thinking about Black Music Month, I mean, I'm sure it had its challenges to be recognized nationally. I mean, you mentioned a former US president, which we are grateful for that supported this, but talk about what were some of the challenges in getting this nationally recognized?
Well, President Jimmy Carter was the first American president at the urging of the Black Music Association to declare June Black Music Month. In fact, you will hopefully see we have footage of Jimmy Carter saying June is Black Music Month. However, in the late 90s, I wrote President Bill Clinton asking him to host a reception on the South Lawn of the White House, much like Jimmy Carter did that day, the first June Black Music Month celebration, where Chuck Berry performed, Billy Eckstine, Evelyn Champagne King, Sarah Jordan Powell, and Andre Crouch, under the direction of Dexter Wansell and the MFSB band. And there were about 200 invited guests from different parts of the Black music industry. So when I wrote The White House in the late 1990s, under the Clinton administration, they came back and said, we see this reception took place. We know that Jimmy Carter said June is Black Music Month, but can you just go get us some legislation, come back to the White House, and President Clinton will sign a presidential proclamation, and every American president moving forward will do similarly at the beginning of June. And that's what happened. It took me a couple of years to get legislation. I got the support of
Wow.
a Republican Senator, Arlen Specter from Pennsylvania, and in the House of Representatives, Congressman Shaka Fatah was the one who actually introduced the bill to his colleagues. It passed, and then the White House and Mr. Clinton, Bill Clinton, invited me to a private meeting in the Oval Office and did the proclamation, and every American president has done similarly.
Oh my, oh my. So now this is nationally recognized. And of course, in anything that we want to do and want to put on mainstream, we have to be two or three times better or work harder at it. And so we're so appreciative to you and your partners for moving the needle for a celebration of Black music and the ecosystem that it creates. So, my sisters, you have heard from the very person who was there, instrumental in starting what we consider Black Music Month, from the horse's mouth, as we can say. And guys, let me tell you, she is celebrating 50, or she has celebrated 50 years in radio and in this ecosystem. But first of all, I want to pause there. Over 50 years. I'm telling you, she does not look a year over. I gave her 20 before I brought her on. However, honey, she looks amazing. So let
You're,
me tell you something else about just
yes.
celebrating Black people. We just age beautifully. I would never have guessed that. I'm not going to tell my age, but before I was born, you were in this industry, and you, oh my God, you look gorgeous. You're gorgeous.
Kind. Well, I work in a very youth-oriented industry, but I don't have any problems telling my age. I have adult children. I'm not trying to hide my children. And at the end of the day, from my perspective, what I offer my clients is wisdom and experience.
Mm.
Yes, I'm a proud 70-year young woman. I will be 71 soon, and I'm good with it because I know so many people younger than me and my age who are not here. And so I'm grateful to God. It is a blessing to be here still. And yeah, Black don't crack.
I'm I I don't have the words. I like when I read you have 50 years plus in this industry, I thought, before I looked at your picture and your bio and just read it, I read your bio. I didn't even see your picture yet. And
Mm,
now seeing you, I'm just amazed. And you're right. You have this youthful glow about you. And I'm at awe that someone who comes off so with such energy, that also with wisdom. I I'm speechless. Like you, girl, you are gorgeous. Just gorgeous, and your background. And I love you are an advocate for Black people and Black culture, and we need more people out there marching to make sure we preserve what's really ours, and making sure. I thought about Beyonce, and I don't. To be honest, I listen to a lot of gospel music, but I was thinking about her and the Taylor Swift conversation. I was wrapped up with some friends, and I thought about that, and I said, you cannot make a comparison between the two, because a Beyonce sits in a system that where we shift the culture. We create it and shift the culture, and so you can't make comparisons with those two, because we are in a league of our own. We create the rules, we create the culture, we create the ecosystem, we create the guardrails, we create it all. And thank you for just being a armor bearer of that voice and making sure that it is publicly recognized. But I still can't believe that you are 71 years old, but you're Afro Latina woman
Yes,
also.
amen.
And I think for a lot of our members, we have members who are also Afro Latina. So I would really want to know, just for my own edification, entering into this business over 50 years ago as an Afro Latina, what was that like?
Well, there were very few women doing radio of any persuasion when I first started. And I admired a woman by the name of Vi Higginson. She was on WBLS in New York, which is where I grew up in Harlem. And I heard her first, and she inspired me to pursue my career as a broadcaster. And so I have always stated that I'm an Afro Latina woman. My mother's Puerto Rican. My father grew up in the South. He was Black. And I'm proud of the combined legacy of those two, elements of culture. But as far as I'm concerned, Puerto Ricans, I mean, my family, we've done our DNA and we've traced it back to West Africa. So we were just dropped off. My
On the
ancestors,
way.
Rican side, were dropped off in Puerto Rico, and my other ancestors on the Black side were dropped off in America, where the Irish and the British slave masters got a hold of my great 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 grandmothers. And I'm sure those women didn't really have choices.
Yeah.
And so I am a mix of all of those things, and I embrace them all. But I am Afro Latina, very proud New Yorican, Boricua Morena, however you want to say it. But at the end of the day, as I move through this planet, I am a very, very Black woman, and celebrate our culture. And I wanted to say something to your point about us, the gate, being the gatekeepers, or we're the originators. We're the originators of so much of culture that gets absorbed and appropriated by others. And here's where I have an issue: when we don't get appropriately compensated, recognized
Wow.
for those contributions. So when
Yeah.
you were talking about Beyonce and Taylor Swift, what do they have in common? They're both women. They're both entertainers. Okay. And they have a friendly relationship. They coordinate, as far as I'm concerned, I believe they may have coordinated their releases so that it wouldn't be a conflict for their fans or the public and media. But at the end of the day, we have seen photographs of these women together. And I don't think that Beyonce would have sat there and taken pictures with Taylor Swift if she wasn't feeling her. There's a mutual admiration. But the difference is, because Beyonce is a Black woman, she gets questioned because she's a Black
Yeah.
woman.
Absolutely.
And Taylor Swift, the kind of questions and the commentary that she gets is distinctly different
Different.
from what, I'll give you an example. I'm working with a client right now. Her name is Tanner Adele. She is a biracial country artist who's on Beyonce's album,
Yes.
singing the Blackbird song that was done by Paul McCartney. And she often gets the question, why are you doing country music? You're a Black woman. Why are you doing country music? And I said to her recently in one of our sessions, do they ever ask white country artists, why are you doing country music?
Mm.
They don't ever get that question. But a
Or
black person
or
gets,
if we see white people entering in traditionally black music spaces, they don't get the questions of why are you rapping or why are you singing R&B, right? It is actually celebrated like, oh my God, that's our Phoenix, right?
yeah,
It just
Eminem, but he also was co-signed by Dr. Dre. He came in with a big co-sign from a major
Mhm.
black hip hop artist producer. It's unfortunate, but again, these are some of the things that I challenge and question as I go out into the world advocating for parity, equity
Absolutely.
with our artists and people who perpetuate this culture and music. But again, racism at the end of the day,
Mhm.
judge first by the color of our skin, not the content of our intellect, spirit, or character. And that's problematic. But we live in a very racist world.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we live in a world that knows people
Yeah.
in charge, the people with wealth, they know that Black people are inventors, creators, scientists. They know that we were philosophers. They still can't figure out how we built the pyramids. They cannot figure it out with
And
all
making up their own stories.
with all their science and technology. They still do not know how. But I will tell you how Black people with science and wisdom and architectural genius were able to build those structures, not just in Cairo, but all over the world. We are, we're people of the sun. We are people of the sun. We are God chosen people. Not that other people are not, because I hear other people saying they're God's chosen people, but we are very, look at what we've accomplished, look at what we do, look at what we've mastered, and we have so much more to come.
First of all, you are preaching. Preach, like as they say in church, preach, preacher, preach. Um, which this message is so apropos because we are an organization of 360,000 women and primarily Black women that really stand, I call it, on business with our mission to serve all mankind. But we also want to make sure that as members in our organizations that they're reaching their full potential and we might have some young people, some young sorority sisters or some young people listening to this that says, hey, I'm a woman of color and I see on this podcast a woman of color who has been successful. I mean, you've worked with the likes of Rihanna and Justin Bieber and how does a woman of color kind of enter into this business? They want to be you.
Absolutely. I will tell you that I've had mentors and advocates in my career.
Mhm.
And there are two white women that I would mention, Laura Swanson, who kind of crossed me over and allowed me to work with those artists that you mentioned. Jana Fleischman, a sister,
Mm.
hired me to do Rihanna and Justin Bieber and Neo and many other artists. And another woman by the name of Sheila Richmond. She is still the head of publicity at Atlantic Records. She gave me a job working with a heavy metal band, a white heavy metal band. And I
Uh-huh.
was a little trepidatious at first because I knew nothing about heavy metal, but I knew a lot about communications and
Mhm.
people, how to get the messaging across. And she knew that, and she hired me based on that knowledge. And I give her credit every opportunity I get. So, I had a couple of white women who were my advocates, and they were like, what you teach is for everyone, and it's
Mhm.
not just for Black artists. And so that was a blessing. Um, I,
I So you talked about advocates and mentors, and when you're not in the room, someone's speaking your name and making sure that you connect with people who are going to promote you and your brand. And I love it, and that's really something at the heart of Alpha Kappa Alpha, making sure that we spread those opportunities so that we have the elevation of not only one another but an entire community. But let's talk about branding, right? And being a guardian and a steward of branding. What's your number one rule on branding?
Identify your brand first. What is your brand? So in journalism, there's who, what, where, when, why, and how. Those are the basic tenets in communications. So being able to address all of those things concisely. Who are you? Where do you come from? Why do you do what you do? When is it happening? How do you do it? Why do you do it? These are the questions. So when you are assessing what your brand is, identify those things and be able to answer them pretty tightly and get that message out. So oftentimes with many of my clients, I work on that 30-second pitch. You're in the elevator with Oprah Winfrey. What are you going to say? How do you introduce yourself? Who are you? What is it that you
I
do?
love it.
And just like in your introduction, you very concisely, you were like, look, or before we got on the air, you were saying, this is my territory. This is what we do. This is who we are. We're a historic organization. We are progressive, educated, bright women, principally of color. And that was good because I'm sure you have some white members,
Mhm.
AKAs. And we engage in service to support
Yes,
one another and to support our communities. So boom, that's how you identify and refine your brand.
I love it. So I am a starch proponent of advocacy, and one of one of the things we do in Alpha Kappa Alpha is making sure that we are on the front lines of advocacy and social justice. And in thinking about advocacy, though, I think people believe advocacy is the very public, picket signs and those things, but really advocacy goes on every day of our life. And you have been a strong advocate for Black music, Black culture. And in thinking about that, especially some, with social media, fake news, truth news, whatever, thinking about the future of Black music globally, where do you see that landscape for us as Black people who originated it and enjoy it?
I see the expansion into Africa more. I'm a member of the Recording
Mhm.
Academy, which is known primarily as the Grammy organization.
Yes.
People have gone and done some fact finding in Africa. I think that, a few years ago, there was a big African song with a featured African artist, and she won a Grammy. I can't think of the name of the song, but it was very popular. It resonated with Black folks here in the United States because we identify Thames. Exactly. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thames. And Thames, but we had Hugh Masekela, we had Miriam
Mhm.
Makeba, we've had African artists, Fela Kuti, who have
Yeah.
introduced us to root sounds from the continent. So I believe that now with technology being what it is, it's brought the world closer together and cultures influence one another. And as I just stated to you earlier, hip hop music all over the planet, jazz all over the planet, gospel, like you said, your favorite genre, all over the world. So
Yeah.
Black music is supreme, it is influential, majestic, powerful, dynamic. It is so many adjectives that I could continue to cite. But at the end of the day, it is an uplifting, motivating, spiritual music from a group of spiritual people. We're people of the sun, people of
Yes.
the sun who share this creativity and brilliance that we call Black music and artistry. And I'm proud. I'm proud to be part of the perpetuation of these genres of music and this body of American work. All Americans should be very
Mhm.
proud
Okay.
regardless of their color, whatever, because this
Mhm.
was music that was developed here. It was
In
created
America.
here. And we know that it was created out of the suffering in
Yeah.
the indignation of racism and oppression. But at the end of the day, it's like, like we sprouted out of the ground and the branches of a tree, and it's a
Mhm.
beautiful tree. And trees give us life and air. And that's what Black music is. It gives us life. And so Think about how you interact with music, with
Yeah.
Black music.
Yeah.
Think about the impact. Think about your prom. Think about going to church on Sunday. Think about going to visit mama's house. Think about our cookouts and the OJs and family reunion. Think about all of these
All of that.
songs. Think about when you fell in love, your first love, that song that when you hear it, you go back to that first love. Black music, soundtrack to our lives.
I love it. I mean, it's deep. It hits the soul. It does. So I would be remiss if I did not have a call to action for those that are listening. And so my last question to you is in this area of Black music and all of the different people and skill sets and talents that touch it to make it what it is, how can an organization like Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated help better support and promote Black music and artists?
I love that question. And I would say become a member of the National Museum of African American Music in Nashville, Tennessee. Take your family, like I'm taking mine next week, to visit this 56,000 square foot contemporary, technologically advanced Her Story and History museum that celebrates our music, our culture. It is an incredible place. And I would say visit the record shop that might still exist in your community. Donate to a local music organization. I live in Philadelphia. There is an organization called the World Cafe Live. They have an educational program. They bring kids in after school. I wrote them a check the other day. If you can afford to, donate to organizations that are perpetuating music, especially with our young people. I saw a group of drummers. There is a drum academy of children in Atlanta, Georgia. Support organizations like that and go hear live music. Stream the music of the artists or buy the music of artists that you love and appreciate. Buy their merchandise. Support the radio stations and the companies like the XM Siriuses, the Urban One, iHeart, Cox, all of these different broadcast companies. Support them. Call the program director or your favorite DJ and say, I love the music you play. I love the programming that you're engaged in. I'm proud and I support what you're doing. Let people write your favorite artists, go to their page, let them know you make a difference in my life. Thank people, the music educators, the music teachers in your child's school, or if you're a guardian, your child's school. There's so many ways for you to support, but do something rather than nothing. Our music is our culture. It is us. So let us keep it thriving and let us perpetuate it until God says no more.
All right. Well, you all heard it here first. We are celebrating all things Black in June. And what better way, there is no better way, I should say, to celebrate than understanding the importance of Black music. And we have been blessed with the mother of Black Music Month. We have with us, and you have heard from her, Dyana Williams. And I am so grateful she was able to spend a little time with us, explaining the history and understanding the industry of music and Black music. Thank you all for your time. Make sure you go out and celebrate. Make sure you go out, you wear pink, you spend green, you buy Black, and you just heard the call to action. Make sure you sprinkle a little bit of that in the Black music industry. Thank you all.